Consciousness is like your brain's superpower. It's the ability to be aware of yourself and the world around you. It helps you think, feel, and remember things. Scientists are still trying to understand how it works, but it's what makes you unique. Consciousness lets you experience life's wonders. Consciousness is weird. It's covered in a conundrum, smothered in a paradox, scattered in a puzzle, diced in an enigma, and just bloody mysterious. It seems both impossibly far off and concomitantly right here and right now. Humanity writ large wants answers about this ephemeral component of our being. And everyone I've encountered wants answers too. And I apologize to those unfortunate enough to meet that last description. Consciousness is the current heavyweight champion of basic yet incredible questions. As of today, there's no known runway towards explaining the phenomenon. Only dark energy and quantum gravity are competitors, and they are quirky and shy. We can scarcely articulate the question, what is consciousness? Other analogies, metaphors, and idioms fail afterwards to qualify what it is that we mean. There's a chasm of unknown size and depth that we yet can map called consciousness. We have no leads towards finding an answer. Like propaganda and porn, we know consciousness when we see it, or rather experience it. Consciousness is so close we're unable to see it. At the same time, we cannot imagine existence without consciousness. Anytime a silly carbon-based unit decides to embarrass themselves attempting to explain nothingness, I just grab a box of popcorn and watch the knots they tie themselves into trying to articulate nothingness. Nothingness is a concept we cannot integrate into the Lego bricks of our understanding. Not philosophers, physicists, kids, AI researchers, nobody can make it work. Nothingness requires parameters that we cannot make work. Or said differently, nothingness is incompatible with our understanding. Therefore, I utilize consciousness. Delicious consciousness. Where the wonderful field of awareness appears, it's the lowest level of a person where integrated thought emerges. Yes, you can simply be conscious, and off you go. There are higher forms of consciousness to be had, however, if you're willing to feel the suffering of being, pining for meaning and extraordinary experiences. You too can direct the field to your purposes. Consciousness is indifferent to the plight of those experiencing it, in my view. Like electricity is for most gadgets, consciousness is part of the integral infrastructure for experience. Subjective reporting strongly supports the operational hypothesis where consciousness functions in our dimension at the depths of the strong nuclear force, electromagnetism, and gravity. An omnipresent, fundamental force interacting with our plane of existence. I suspect consciousness will resist revealing its secrets, and if we know anything at all about it objectively, it's going to be treated as basically unknowable to everything except math. Speaking of math, I once went to a monotone lecture on time dilation, but it felt like eternity. Relatively speaking, time does slow when you're bored. As if it required stating, my opinion of consciousness is just that. It is an opinion, just like other things we have. This is for fun and to inspire some thinking, certainly not for research or teaching. Use at your own risk of looking foolish should you elect to repeat this. In my humble opinion, consciousness is a fundamental force or field in the universe. Humans are equipped to tune into that field by an unknown mechanism in our brains. To help contextualize the idea, consider consciousness as the carrier of information. Imagine it as broadband connections or internet service. Everybody experiences the same consciousness, just like they experience the same internet, even though service capacity and quality is wholly dependent upon how well we've developed the receivers in our brains. which I won't attempt to pinpoint. I'm guessing it's more of a net of features and rather a single pineal gland, but here we are. Some people have more bandwidth capacity than others. You can imagine a 56K dial-up modem compared to a 100 gigabit interconnects used within large systems today. The Dalai Lama might experience 10 gigabits of bandwidth, or said differently, 500 channels of consciousness, like satellite TV in the 90s. I might, hopefully, maybe, experience a couple dozen channels, but I have absolutely no idea. Recognizing this present awareness takes a still mind, quieted of persisting thoughts. One would improve their tuning into the reception of that field in the hopes of expanding your access to it. This takes oodles and oodles of meditation, the ever-hated quiet time work. Wearing out that cushion is the way. So for my little delusion, let's assume consciousness operates like broadband access and we use it as our internet connection to operate today. Each individual has a window of conscious access to the field. Consciousness likely emerged in order to share integrated information which could be passed easily across the field. Consciousness allows the universe to experience itself subjectively. That's the real anchorage of this whole theory. Consciousness allows the universe to experience it itself subjectively. What is itself? Am I integrated into this subjective experience? I have the sense that consciousness is not the totality of what we are, but rather the mechanism to allow communication and alarms to pass into awareness from any dimension. Out of curiosity, have you ever received a warning alarm in your gut? Or have you had a horror show nightmare of an experience when suddenly a guardian angel or a good Samaritan appeared and gave you just enough help when you needed it most? Because I know I have. We'll get to why in a bit. What can we say about consciousness so far as we can communicate in the high technology of language? Definitions make the effort with the awareness or perception of something by a person or the fact of awareness by the mind of itself in the world. Nice try, but these definitions aim low due to our defeated nature when it comes to any information about or surrounding consciousness. I think the definition is more like a human system enabling alertness, focus, perception, and cognition through a field pervading our universe. The system of consciousness is quite low level, far below the processing of sight and smell, touch and taste. Consciousness allows all of these systems to operate. It's the electricity for the conscious systems in Homo sapiens. It's also analogous to the networking stack in our communications enterprise. It's an enabling feature. It's obvious to me all creatures of the animal kingdom, and perhaps everything on Earth, possess a degree of consciousness, regardless of how much. Threat awareness and taking in energy might well be the first subsystems utilizing the ground floor of consciousness. It's in every organism we encounter, and this is not to imply that self-awareness is had by all creatures, certainly not. Understanding our place in the universe will hopefully allow us to be more aware of how our actions impact living things in our spaces, except spiders. All spiders should die. Have you been editing my script again? What does the intelligent universe look like? Funny, since we have no way to talk about it. I think to assume the universe is dead, unintelligent, or not participatory would be a foolhardy mistake. Your moronic narrator believes it's far more likely a consciousness exists in these gigantic systems, and further, we will never understand the intelligence it has or how far away we are from it, or ever conceive just how intelligent the universe is. Consciousness exists as a force, and these galactic neighborhoods share the same consciousness field with us. Contrasting, we're at a megabit of speed right now, let's just say, but galaxies should be sharing zetabits of volume at the speed of light. Consciousness is so vast, it'd be foolish to venture further. But I'm a fool, so get your Spider-Man dependent undergarments on and let's go. In the wee hours of the morning, when consciousness thoughts are strong and clear, most have wished for that awareness to turn off. When you just want to sleep, or you've gone somewhere terrible that you shouldn't have gone, consciousness is there all the while. Why is this field something we experience? I'm delighted, but I can understand. The why is complicated so far as I can tell, but the scenario is real. My story about consciousness and its purpose is as crazy as my life, and it's out there, but it makes sense to me, so here we go. When I was a few months past my first birthday, I was on the kitchen floor making noises with pans and wooden spoons. Mom was doing something in the kitchen related when the noise stopped. And I was not a healthy kid, so when Cris stopped making noise, it was sketchy. I looked up at Mom and put the spoons down on my makeshift snare drum and said, "I think I'm going to like this life more than I liked the last one." Pretty much as coherently as I just said it. Then I went back to beating on my drums. Mom considered whether to tell my dad, since coherent speech for me would be months away. But you got to say something that wackadoodle. And as it happens, wackadoodle is both definitional and eponymous. Okay, so young, eccentric Cris is already tossing ontological bombs. I think I'm going to like this life more than I like the last one. Just to call them out, I think indicates the persistence of mediated spirit. I'm going to like indicates qualitative judgment over time and incarnations. This life and the last one obviously point to our spirit persisting over time and incarnations. What the actual flock? What is this little dude saying? Your peculiar narrator thinks it's a multidimensional universe chock-a-block full of fields and layers. Layers! Its sole purpose is to allow the universe to experience itself subjectively. As with many single-purpose missions, it became necessary for the universe to improve its experience by incarnating independent actors who would grow, learn, mature, and become even better transceivers. In so doing, the universe would experience itself subjectively through the field of conscious awareness. Earth is a destination spa for incarnation, with a healthy mix of misery and magic for those who find themselves here. Our life on Earth has meaning, and we need to do something, even if we don't know what it is yet. We incarnate to learn, and when we gain sufficient understanding, we move to different dimensions for more training. Each of us is here on Earth for reasons. It might be the desire to just experience or explore. If, like me, you avoid doing things that are challenging that you'd rather not face, this existence is an ideal environment for accomplishing our spirit growth goals. When prompted, I knew what I needed to learn. Every person I've spoken to knew their thing too. My goal this incarnation is to nail the quality of patience. For others, it's love. We're afforded the chance to accomplish our goals in the slow, repetitive process of living. So this dimension is a zone of incarnation for the universe to both improve the constituent parts of the whole as well as for the needs of big U, as I described the universal intelligence. It follows that, like in a game, the universe puts things in our path to help us learn. You'd have to be a jack mule stubborn idiot to avoid them, yet we avoid or run from them repeatedly. As a spirit, where the same mistakes are repeated, we're stuck. Typically speaking, it's only when something happens, something bad, that we'll decide to try something else. When that change is triggered, we must introspectively explore and find the why. Our systems are prone to these little infinite loops when we experience something bad and we don't understand what happened and why it happened. After this step, we can take steps to correct the issue. When you've accomplished some or more of your goal, the heat of existence tends to reduce or diminish. The pressure of life lets up. You don't feel as much friction in daily living. Once you're on the path and aiming properly, there's a blissful magic which washes over you. And I'd have never guessed such a thing existed. But I've felt it all the same. It's as if the universe is signaling, you're on the right path. Keep going. Daily, I long for a way to share just 1 minute of that peace with those who aren't there yet, to give them the motivation, to offer encouragement, and give them courage to just get on with it and grow already. And now enough about living. What happens after we die? When we die, what happens? If you're here for a sketch of the whole process, I'll have to disappoint you. There's the light in the tunnel and the other stuff. But for our purposes, we're going to appear at arrivals. From the opaque background emerges a form that you recognize. You meet one or more of your council, who will greet you and then lead you to debriefing. Since memories don't travel well over the dimensional boundaries on either direction, you must make the effort to capture it as quickly as possible. If you're going to synthesize anything, you have to remember it. And I've imagined an old anatomy theater with the extra steep levels. At the stage, you're there giving your assessment. In the audience might be a couple of dozen of members of your council. As part of your incarnation, they all agreed to look out for you and to make sure that if one was needed, they could intervene, send us a warning, hit us in the feels if we're going off track. Important here, any judgment in the debriefing that we face is our own. Your council knows the result of your trip as well as you do. How did it go? Was the goal reached? Any insights? You exit the theater and then reintegrate with the rest of you in a little bit. After comes the hugs and catch-ups. How long you spend in this realm is up to you, but like any mature process, the universe knows when to protect you from yourself and when to make you feel the need to improve your spiritual maturity. In my little story, there are many dimensions, and the Earth's incarnation day spa is at the bottom. We're at the penthouse suite of this existence, but we're still physical entities and three-dimensional, so our realm isn't all high on the totem pole. Above are more energetic dimensions requiring mastery of spirit basics to qualify for entry. Imagine an existence where every moment generates the feeling of the strongest climax you've ever experienced on Earth. When you wake up before your first coffee in a meeting about product development, massive orgasms 24/7. Most would go insane because they wouldn't be able to tolerate the intensity shift from their baseline stimulation level. The entry process for higher dimensions has matured to include basic safety protocols. Other dimensions might have basic entry requirements to guard against the risk of damage to you or Big U. Now, as a reminder, I don't possess any confirmation this crap's real, but as a reasonably stoic guy, these thoughts feel correct upon examination. I ask the universe if I'm on the right track, and if I get corrections, I change. But until then, my story about the configuration of the universe is the best I've got. This story was my requirement. I needed a story to help fill in the gaps, to explain what's going on and how I'm to behave. Why is all this happening? How do I live the best life I can, given this suffering endemic to living? So I'm bumming around in the dimension over there, and I go to my vocational guidance counselor to review my progress. I want to sing it, but I'm not going to. You're assessed and you get your report. Patience and courage. I know what I need to do, and there's only now. So, to the travel agency. You arrive at the travel agency, however that typically happens, and you're greeted by the agent, and you share what your goals are and what you are hoping to accomplish. The agent is a humanoid figure, but it's made of energy, containing a translucent white form. Its limbs are tentacles, and it's got elephant noses for hands. There's hardly anything resembling a face, which felt or induced both horror and gratitude concomitantly. So the main goal is patience, correct? The agent looks at me with blank expressions. The table surface between us illuminates and 3 rectangles appear like giant tarot cards. That's right, I spoke. The weird appearance of the agent was nothing new in this dimension. One of the cards flipped and patience was inscribed on the surface. Several lives appeared on the portal display for the agent. When incarnating, the universe requires a journey. This time, it will be true love and soulmate. The universe wants to see you with your partner again. Awesome! I always love being with her. The universe's tile was inscribed true love, and 1 card remained. Do you have a wild card option you would like to try? Is enlightenment possible? It is. Enlightenment is your wild card goal for this incarnation. The agent touches a few displays, looks through a few portals to review the options, and shake whatever head-like protrusion you'd like to imagine side to side. Well, we have a few openings. How much are you investing in this incarnation? 30%, please. That's the maximum. That's good. There is a perfect life, but it looks like it's about to expire. Not even a shred of emotion or feeling was perceived. Well, I'm interested. I've tried to get patients several times before, and I've never seemed to get it. Perfect sounds like a winning option. And I felt surprisingly good at this point. The agent started to look more serious. 1 second, sport. It got closer, and a face did begin to emerge. This manifestation will consist of chronic pain, and you will have lots of trials. It is a guarantee you will gain patience while you are there, but it will test you fully and not be an easy life. I don't care. Perfect is perfect. It hadn't clicked. Well, a little rash, but logical. One last chance. This birth will hurt. The incarnation will hurt more. This is your last chance to reconsider. Send me. It was starting to set in what I was doing, and I kind of felt a little tinge of fear at the prospect of a life of pain, but a lot of pain. The agent now had produced a serious human expression, mixed with empathy and the intent to save me from myself. I'd been touched with a bit of the stupid in an attempt to clear this bogey off of my back. Before I could even conceptually recognize what the agent was saying to me, I said, "Send me," and pressed the indicator. When it activated, anyone who knows me will recognize the brash stupidity of Cris rushing in where angels fear to tread. The 3 tiles simplify selecting incarnation goals. The universe experiences itself subjectively, and as a conscious actor, you too will have one of the universe's desires added to yours. The primary goal is the lesson or the troublesome learning that you've been heretofore unable to acquire. If you have a second goal, you can add it. For some, their primary goal is vacation. To incarnate simply to feel, to help others, to seek enlightenment, and viscerally feel being is their desired incarnation state. The choice is yours, but knowing something was still on my list, I had a bit of go fever. The travel agent was right, by the way, as always. I've learned and am learning patience. The travel agent will let you play. It will push you as hard as you want. You pick the incarnation knowing how many remaining milestones you have. There are some spirits who are competitive and never choose serenity. Some spirits never elect to have a fulfilling existence. I've elected a tough incarnation purposefully, and I know what this round's about. This is more than most can say, and I know how fortunate I am to have the confidence in this understanding as it soothes the voice screaming, "Why?" One final visualization of universal consciousness I'd like to share is of ferromagnetic fluids, the stuff that's in automobile suspensions in some of the models. It's a reactive magnetic fluid that, in the presence of a magnetic field, stiffens and aligns the magnetic particles within the oil. Some of the fluid might split off from one finger in two as the protrusions rise from the surface. The universe experiences itself subjectively through the conscious awareness of human beings and other conscious creatures. At the level of universal intelligence, the sum of one life is a drop in a sea. I don't think it's plausible to say the universe sees through my eyes, because direct webcam access would be implausible. It's far easier to synthesize our holistic experience and translate that into communications compatible for big U. I lied, there's one more visualization. A comparison, what might help is a tree. And in the cross-section of a tree, you see in museums and books, the big circles with the rings. All growth in a tree happens at the edge. The bark expands to accommodate this year's ring, and all growth in the universe happens at physical incarnation levels. Who knows, maybe there's certain lessons that require lifetimes to beat it into your head, or you can only learn them with misery that conscious being brings about. Perhaps there's other lessons and that the developmental skills for that. I don't know. So the tree grows and expands on the outside. It stands tall and reaches taller with the solid core of being beneath the outer layer. And the canopy of leaves interacts with the physical world. The universe has us in a cosmic day spa and suffering zone so that it can experience itself subjectively. Ergo, you're a universe. Me too. We're all protrusions, whether a finger rising from the base intelligence or a leaf making energy and bringing experience back home, abstracted however many times between us and Big U. There's an idea which is reviled by a lot of the people I encounter, but I tell you it's the truth. There will be some things we will never understand in a scientific method manner. Not because humans can't find a way, but that it's impossible to articulate it because it lives in an extra dimensional space outside of ours. It's a flatlander man seeing a water tower. Depending on locale and proximity, Bob Flat Deflate only sees a white square or an enormous circle. Because our current address is here, it's safe to assume that anything that interacts with our space or dimension, but's outside of it, you're always going to have that as a bloody mystery, and it won't change for eons, I tell you. That's my crazy little story about consciousness in the universe. I think it's true, and I think there's a disturbing conclusion one has to make, which is if this all has logic to it, we're responsible for identifying the growth goals that we have in this lifetime, and we're responsible for accomplishing what we can. There's no judgment, there's no pressure, but there is the awareness that there's deficiencies, and we have the ability to change them should we choose. Until next time.